It is the Early Effect, and I am Don Early. Today, Jeremy and I talk about the movies we love and, well, don't. So hang on, because we take some serious off-roads here. This is episode 2, The Movies.
Hey, Don.
Yo, it is, this is good. I'm good. I'm not in 100-degree weather anymore.
Oh my God! Thank God for that. You were stuck in the other state, right? You were next door in all that heat.
Yeah, I went to Boise for a week just after here in Washington we got the 100-degree weather. But you guys, you got what, 115?
Yeah, 100 and yeah. We set 3 records in a row. Went to 108, 109, then 115.
Yeah.
In the Portland area, which was like bananas.
Yeah.
No one was ready for it. Everything is dead. All the you can see the plants that were in the shade versus the ones that weren't. Even the plant that was half in the shade, it's brown on one side and green on the other. Things literally just got toasted.
God. Yeah, I know. And so in Idaho, it was there. It was over 100 degrees every single day for a week.
Oh, God.
It was that way the week before we showed up, and it was forecasted to continue for another 2 to 3 weeks.
That is not healthy living.
That is hell on earth. Which is why I left Boise.
I've long made, which is a good choice. I've long made the argument that Phoenix is going to be uninhabitable, and I've a decade ago I said by 2030 no one will be able to live here, and now it's 2021, and I feel like it's absolutely becoming true. Like the amount of impossible temperature that it's just not becoming inhabitable any longer.
Yeah. Well, Death Valley is living up to its name.
Holy crap, right?
I think I saw 130.
That's what I saw. Yeah. That is ridiculous. Again, right? Starting to hit that these are extremes that are continuing to grow every year. You just can't live there.
Yeah.
Ooh, which actually segues real nicely, because thinking about desert planets and where things are going, I wanted to talk to you about movies.
Movies,
and,
all right.
Yeah, so you just got me thinking about the day after tomorrow, right? So the world hits these extreme superstorms, and then we started seeing this massive cataclysmic change, and it's been a reference that we've made a couple of years now about how we keep coming up to this day after tomorrow. The winters get really extreme, the summers are starting to get really extreme, and we're I haven't talked to whatever he called it, paleometeorologist, I think is what he was. So we haven't done anything like that, but there have been a lot of movies that take the dystopian view of where the Earth is going to go, whether it be the fact that we've completely used up all the resources, or the fact that we just completely destroyed the ozone, or the entire process of the internet, or not the internet, but the whole world just kind of collapsing because of the way that we destroyed it and used it all up, right?
Yeah.
And some stories are really awful. Some movies are really good. And you and I have this history of finding awful movies and discovering that they're actually good. Or even finding joy in the crap.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely have a long history of shitty movies that I enjoy. And I mean, to the point that a lot of people, when we start talking about movies and opinions, they automatically just disqualify me from the conversation because of certain movies that I like, or maybe a lot of movies that I like, and certain movies that I don't like that apparently other people should or do. So Jeremy, what movies kind of come to mind first?
Well, thinking of the extreme heat, right? I was immediately going to Mad Max.
Yeah, obviously.
So you've got Mad Max and the Thunderdome, and basically Waterworld in the opposite extreme. Everything is desert, everything is man has disintegrated. It's man eat man out there, and civilization is only one of those things that happens by control and slavers, right?
Yeah.
But the underlying content of it is that we're always fighting for some sort of resource, something that's out there. And then I contrast that with another brilliant movie that I love to death, The Book of Eli.
I've not seen this.
Denzel Washington, The Book of Eli?
I haven't seen it.
Well, I'm not going to spoil things for you because I'm going to give you some homework. This is an amazing movie. It is also post-apocalyptic, and it is about a world of wastelands. And so you have this complete desert scenario situation that is bordered by coasts. Oceans still exist, and somewhat civilization still exists, but you have this entire Badlands area. And because it is uninhabitable Badlands, every type of resource that anyone can imagine is super valuable. All the way from water, of course, up to oil, into glass. And the way people, use these artifacts that used to be commonplace, because it's all of our own trash, all the stuff that we have now, 150 years from now.
I love watching you censor yourself so you don't give me too much.
It's a really, really cool story. It is violent in all the right ways. You follow a hero through some impossible odds, and there are times that you expect almost some mutations or supernatural abilities to be coming out just because of the way that people are acting. There is this weird sense that there is this post-apocalyptic or post-nuclear fallout, right? Reactions that you want to get out of people. And it doesn't disappoint. It is starring Denzel Washington, and it's got Mila Kunis in it, and it's a great movie.
That's
I'm blown away you haven't seen it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's probably one of those things that just didn't ring my bell when I'm familiar with it, but it just, for whatever reason, just didn't catch me. I'm too busy watching Resident Evil 9.
Yeah. So about your bad taste in films.
Yeah.
Before we dive into like all of it, do you have anything that comes up for you? Like, you have a post-apocalyptic film that you're just like, that's the thing I go to, or thinking of this Extreme Heat, for example.
I think Fury Road is pretty spectacular. I think you hit it right on the Mad Max thing. But as far as other ones go, I mean, it's such a common movie trope, right? And most of them don't do it very well. So, I mean, you've got the resources and the natural disasters or the nuclear holocaust, but you also, I mean, this is where zombie apocalypse comes from. So we also have all the zombie films. So actually, a lot of the films that come to mind are films that sucked at it. So I'm trying to think of the great ones.
We'll work your way up. Let's go through the worst ones, and maybe you can pick a gem out of there.
Well, I think potentially at the top of the list is Highlander 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I just don't ever think of that one as a shitty apocalypse film, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So basically humanity has destroyed the ozone and the atmosphere, and this tech corporation, of course, Connor McLeod, comes up with this idea to put a dome around the world to protect it. So it's like an artificial energy dome, and you can, without it, you'd have to wear. I think there's a funny commercial that they did where you are wearing like sunblock 3,000 or 5,000 or something like that. It was just like this completely opaque blue shit that you look like a Smurf basically. So this film has in it as its backdrop, like, the world has gone to shit,
and Duncan is an old man, or Connor is an old man by the end of by the beginning of the film. So, and he's this entrepreneur or whatever. So, and it's depending on which version you watch. Well, it doesn't matter which version you watch. It still goes down the hill from there. So, yeah. More recent,
Sunblock 5000 is what I'm seeing on a RoboCop.
Oh,
Interestingly enough, has got that one.
RoboCop.
5000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm probably getting those two confused because
bright freaking green, blue-green.
RoboCop is a great. Talk about that's a series, at least 1 and 2, where it's just pleasure. It's just giddiness, and because they did such a great job with the the lampooning and the social commentary and whatnot, really satirizing corporate America. So I love that. It's cheesy as hell. You go beyond RoboCop 2 and it gets a little iffy, but yeah, I think more recently that comes to mind that was Zack Snyder's Armies of the Dead.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
Again, I think it's like 3.5 hours or something like this. This guy does not know how to tell short stories, or normal size stories, I should say.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
And I turned it off about halfway through because I got bored.
Wow.
It's a zombie apocalypse kind of thing. One thing I will give him credit for, though, is that he did do some kind of interesting new things that we've never seen before with zombie lore. There's a lot of people that complained about that it doesn't fit any, formula, or it's, I don't know. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I don't care where it comes from. I don't care how it acts. Just be consistent with it. That's all I ask. And they do. But it just took too long. He wanted to make an actual film instead of what I thought it was, which was I thought it was a heist film during the zombie apocalypse.
Sure. The trailer certainly seemed like it was that way.
And fuck, why can't I think of his name? The star, freaking, he plays Drax.
Oh yeah, John Batista.
Yeah, John Batista. So
Dave Batista.
Dave,
John.
yes.
Dave.
I don't know where John.
Drax.
Yeah. So it was cool. It was a good idea, and we spend way too much on backstory, or not just backstory, but personal interrelationship conflict, and it just gets in the way of and they don't even cut it for a heist film. It just takes too goddamn long to even get anywhere. So as I got bored, I just kind of felt like he didn't know what he was doing. Yeah. And he does know what he's doing. These are intentional choices he's making. So I don't know.
It's Zack Snyder. I feel very much like M. Night Shyamalan is really into making his story the way he sees it, but I feel like he changes his mind. Right? Yeah. He keeps going through. He's like, oh, I probably could do this, or probably could do this, and there's no one else reeling him in, saying, yeah, but tell one story. You've got 3 different ideas, but tell that one, and then come back with the other ones. He has to make it all happen, and so like Shyamalan, doesn't have that editor, doesn't have that one saying, all right, change this, don't do the reveal. Hey, by the way, don't show up in your own film.
Well, he's never going to do that. He's never going to follow that advice.
He's definitely one of those guys that sees himself as a writer, actor, director. You don't need to do that.
I hate M. Night Shyamalan's films. I fucking hate them so hard. With the exception of The Sixth Sense, I kind of feel like he nailed it in one.
Yep.
Unbreakable was okay, but I really, really, really hated the ending.
Yeah.
because I felt like
not
that's
ending.
the not ending. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But the two films that I was actually surprised by was is it Split?
Yes. So Split, it was the third part
Yes.
of that story, right? So
No.
you had Unbreakable, then you had Glass, and then you had Split.
No,
oh, no,
it's the other way
I'm
around.
Sorry, other way around.
Split and then Glass.
Split and then Glass. Yeah, yeah.
And Split and Glass were actually really good. I actually enjoyed them quite a bit. So I wonder if he had somebody kind of like, okay, let's focus. But they were quite good. And then there's a just to finish the M. Night Shyamalan bullshit. There is a series on Apple TV called Servant.
Okay.
And he directs, I think he writes and directs the first episode, but he's really the producer of this show. I highly recommend it. It is
really? Okay.
bizarre. And basically, like the concept, so it's a series, it's a show.
Yeah.
And the idea is this young couple hires a live-in nanny. I think they're in Boston or something. Hires a live-in nanny for their newborn or young infant son. Well, they bring her in. She's handed the baby, and it's revealed that it's a doll.
Did you just spoil the whole first episode for me?
No. This is the setup.
Okay.
So it's revealed that it's a doll, and she doesn't blink. This live-in nanny, she goes with it. Like it's...
Oh, got it. Okay.
And so the husband is like, okay, we can drop this. We can talk about this. The wife, is kind of nuts. She kind of had a breakdown. They lost their son. This is a kind of therapy situation to sort of bring her back. But from there, it gets weird. And
Okay.
It gets like... M. Night Shyamalan loves his twists, and there are some fairly good twists in this. That, yeah, I don't know. We've ventured away from your apocalyptic, hot hell, whatever. But
Well, I mean, not terribly. Part of the whole concept of the films that we're talking about is kind of where they go to. So the fact, I mean, let's go back to Shyamalan for a second, right? He did the one. He had an entire world where you're like, you are outside.
Are you
of
talking
the
about
world.
The Happening?
No, I was not. I was actually talking about the one film that I actually enjoyed was The Village. But yeah, let's talk about The Happening real quick.
I don't want to.
I think the point I wanted to bring up is you can take the source material of The Planet Fighting Back, which is it's one of the great common stories, right? It's man versus environment, and it can be done really well and it can be done really poorly. The trick is the fact that we have to recognize it's one of the stories, right? There's 4, so we're going to hear one of them, and so the audience is going to know what's happening, and then be able to do something with it where you're on the side of the audience, not the tried to get you, right? That's the problem with Shyamalan. He's done all these gotchas, and then he does them poorly because, like you said, he nailed it in one. He did such an amazing reveal with Sixth Sense and such an amazing setup that has not been told before in that way ever.
Yeah.
And every time after that, everyone's like, "You're just doing a Shyamalan," including the other Shyamalan films. you're just doing your own thing.
Yeah.
So the idea of
just the fact that he continues to put himself even in bit roles in his own fucking things, because he's not good.
Right? Yeah.
He's
he's
not good at it.
Not good at acting.
It's just an ego thing, and I hate that. I think it's pretentious, and I think about that in my own acting when I produce and going, okay, am I doing the same thing? Because I've known some other people who do that exact same thing too, and it's annoying. So, but I'm always willing to let somebody say, "Hey, Don, maybe sit this one out.
Right? and it's good to listen to that. And
Yeah.
you actually make a really good point. When we talk about movies, right? Like we're obviously fans. We're big fans. We have a lot of movies that we like, a lot of we don't. But when you watch a movie, do you see it in a different way than you think you normally would because of the fact that you're a filmmaker?
Depends. It really depends. I first and foremost, if the story sucks me in, I'm along for the ride. And it's only afterwards that I kind of think about the nuts and bolts of it. But if it's a story that, or, if it's just a project or something that doesn't totally grab me, but then I can sit back and look at it, but still enjoy it, then that's kind of where I start to analyze or kind of appreciate or look at things. I think an example of that is a ton of movies out that I freaking love out of the 1980s. I mean, basically, you can just Google Charlie Band and get a ginormous list of 80s classic horror, schlocky amazingness. I actually know one of his editors quite well, Julie Avila, and her husband, King Wilder, or partner or something. I think they're married. They were. I'm going to say husband. You met Julie, didn't you?
Maybe. It was not a memorable experience, but that's not her fault nor my fault. I just tend to block things out that don't stay relevant to my life.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's awesome. But anyway, Charlie Band, we're talking about Puppet Masters. We're talking about The Reanimator.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I took your advice and I Googled Charlie Band.
Yeah.
And I've seen popular movies starring Charles Band. And are you talking about ones produced by him or ones that he was in? Because I see The Puppet Master.
Yes.
I see Head of the Family, Decadent Evil. That's in 2005.
Yeah.
But
go back farther though.
Let's go. You said 80s. Let me go.
80s.
Charlie Band film 80s. I'm just going to Google that. Okay. Right off the bat, I've got. Oh no, that's a list of
Dolls.
Empire. Dolls was there, and I just saw. Holy crap, that's a big list. I just went into his filmography as a director.
There you go.
Wikipedia, and you got Parasite.
Yep.
1980s Parasite, The Alchemist. Right after that, Rage War, Trancers, Pulse Pounders.
Trancers. Oh, Trancers.
1985's Prancers, right?
Jack Death. I think that's the character's name.
Crash and Burn, Trancers 2, Dr. Mordred. There's Pre-Hysteria, which I gotta admit I've heard of. Doll Man versus Demonic Toys.
Doll Man.
The Creeps.
The Creeps. The Creeps.
Yeah, and then you've got things like No Angels and Full Moon Fright Nights. Dr. Moreau's House of Pain was his in 2004. That was Charles Band. Of course, all of the Puppet Masters. Evil Bong in 2006.
Yep.
Evil Bong 3D, Wrath of Bong in 2011. Good God. Yeah, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think Full Moon Studios is also the production company that he ran.
Holy shit, Ghoulies is his.
Yes.
So I'm looking at Empire, right? The Empire International Pictures, that's where a lot of these popular 80 ones come from. So I see
Yep.
Ghost Warrior, Ghoulies, Savage Island, 1985's Underworld, Walking the Edge, Breeders, 1986.
Yep. Saw Breeders.
And, wow, yeah, Necropolis. He is prolific, man.
Yeah.
He's got some stuff.
Got a ton of films.
They
And
all look like garbage.
Yeah, I know. They're amazing. It's delicious, delicious garbage.
So tell me about why. What gets you up about the Charlie Band films?
They know how to do it. They know what they are, and they are having fun. They're looking for the gags. They're looking for, like, let's make marionette puppets come alive and kill you in horrible ways. Like, who doesn't want to see that? I want to see that. One of them's got a screw top for his head, and he bores through like a seat or something right through your chest. Like, that's awesome. You know, they each have their own little specialties and stuff. You know, and so this is kind of where my appreciation for creature effects comes in. That doesn't mean that they're amazing creature effects, but they're fun, and you go along with it. He does it well enough. I say he, but I mean, it's the people that he brought on to make the films as well. But they all love what they're doing. And they had a lot of fun doing it. They cut it right because they know what they're looking for. And he kind of was given, I mean, they don't cost much, so he was kind of given sort of free rein to make his film. So it's almost like Trauma in a different way. You know, Lloyd Kaufman and like Toxic Avenger and Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD and some of the other ones that, Terror Firmer. I will say that I'm not a huge Trauma fan. I love it. I think they're great, but I don't think they're quite as good as the Charlie Band stuff. They're literally like, here's $80,000 and a camera, and the second AD will write the script. Go.
That's
You have a week.
that explains why they're so prolific. Like that's a lot going on there.
Yeah, they crank out shit films. They have fun doing it, and it's fine. You know, it's interesting that they knocked it out of the park with Toxic Avenger, you know, to the point that they're getting a high-budget remake with Peter Dinklage. So,
whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's been 40 years thereabouts. So, I mean, I suppose if you're going to do a remake, that's about the right amount of time. Though the films that you're showing me here, like The Dungeon Master, Trancers, Ghoulies, Reanimator, like these were not the peak films of the 80s, though. Like there were a whole bunch of other horror films that were like this, right? I mean, I'm going back to Nightmare on Elm Street, but right, there was other creature films, there was other big explosive films, and I know you're a fan, right? We've talked about that enough. I know you're a huge fan of Krueger. Would you say that they're same ballpark, or are they different tiers? Are they different categories?
It's kind of like saying
I'm not asking you to pick your favorite child. Like I know you love both of them.
No. It's different. It's different. It's like trying to say which one do you like best, Indiana Jones or Star Wars?
Right. I guess that's what I'm trying to ask. Is are
they're
they
kind of
same level, or are they different levels?
They're doing different things. They're after different. They're after different stuff. Although I would argue that the later Nightmare on Elm Streets, like 4 and on, I mean, it wasn't the Charlie Band formula, but they kind of went. I don't know. There's some like they did their own thing. New Line Studios is fucking amazing. That they took the gamble that they did on Nightmare on Elm Street and Wes Craven, and to be able to go on for as many films as they did. Whereas the Friday the 13th, those first couple of films are slow. Yeah. The pacing is not there. And they finally got into a rhythm where you get what you're going for, and then you get a little exposition. And I've always compared good, shitty films to porn. Okay. So when you're so if you're gonna sit down and actually watch a full-on feature-length porn movie, and there's a reason you're going into that experience, you know what you're after. Very similarly,
when you're what? Excuse me. When you are watching one of these films, you have certain expectations going into it of what you want. You want those kill shots. You want gore in a certain, you want bright colors and dark, tones. And I don't know, there's just kind of a recipe there. And the scares, where the scares rhythmically happen within the beats of the film. And if you wait too long and you're just telling the story that no one really gives a shit about, it's not why they're there, you lose people and it becomes just awful to the point of boring. So one company that is famous for this kind of shit is Asylum. Now,
okay.
Asylum, they used to have now they've turned out some great shit, don't get me wrong, but they used to have, and I don't know if it was always them, there might have been another company back in the day that was kind of doing the same thing, but what they cornered on was there was a big blockbuster movie out that summer, and then they would go out, and they knew it was going to be released then, and so they would go out and film a knockoff that was cheap and shitty and title it something really close to the Blockbuster one, so that when you went to Blockbuster Video, when you went to Hollywood Video or the video stores, when you actually walked in and picked out the movie you were going to take home and watch that night, you would fool them. They would think they were picking up the Blockbuster, and they come home with fucking Transmorphers. And it's this horrible, dry, like, phoned-in acting. This is a paycheck. It's the beats. Yeah, it's just a lot of their shit just doesn't. It falls flat on its face because they didn't give a shit, and they're not there now. Where I think they really turned it around was Sharknado.
I was just going to mention that. It's like, I think they have one that they kind of put their name on.
Yeah. So, and in those same vein, so it's not just Sharknado, but there's like Mega Shark, and there's a two-headed shark, and they did the no, not the Meg, that was a different one, but same idea. But they had like a giant, massive, ship-sized crocodile or something like that.
Right.
I'm
looking through some of these titles, and you're not wrong. I see Five-Headed Shark, Snakes on a Train.
Mm-hmm. Yep. See, that's another one of those that sounds like the movie you wanted to watch.
The Terminators with an S.
Mm-hmm.
There's Zombies.
Yep.
Rise Zombies. I see Bermuda Tentacles. And Hillside Cannibals, and classically Halloween Nights. Yeah.
Wow. So there's some winners and some deep, deep losers in there.
Megapython and Gatedroid. Megapython versus Gator Droid.
Yep. Yeah, that's actually a good one. The people that we could talk a lot more about this with would be like Jenna and Emily. Like Emily, they would have a regular get-together pre-COVID every Friday night and watch some shitty film that night. And it was usually one of those. Or during the holidays, there's a great one called Rare Exports. If you haven't heard of this, you haven't watched it, you need to check it out. It's fun. It's foreign. It's kind of in the same vein as Troll Hunter, or Troll Hunters. I can't remember, but it's not the animated one. It's like the, I don't know, Norwegian film or Swedish film.
I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, that was the first I thought of.
And those are great. And they just kind of, like Rare Exports, you have no idea what the hell it's about, but they have a take on Santa Claus, and it's awesome. and it's a creepy ass fun ride.
Okay.
That you just Anyway, I'm not going to ruin that one for you because it'll do it. It's on its own.
I gotta be honest, when we started talking about doing this podcast tonight, talking about movies, I did not expect that you and I were going to continue to recommend films to each other that we had not already seen. I was sure it was just going to be reminiscing about Wanted and John Wick over and over again.
Yeah, we can do that if we want. But let's talk about John Wick for a second.
All right.
Because I could talk for the next 2 hours about shitty films. So
yeah. Yes, you could.
Maybe that's its own podcast. No, John Wick. So the thing that I love about John Wick is that, in my opinion, it might be the best world building film. Let's just talk about the first film.
Yeah.
Probably the best world building film I have seen since A New Hope.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to give you that. I absolutely agree.
And A New Hope is a masterpiece in that particularly the first 10 minutes, but the first 20 minutes. The first 10 minutes, there is no dialogue. Only the droids talk. That's it.
Yeah.
But you get the through that experience and follow them around, what this world is like. And you start to really understand like what's going on and, how things work and that sort of thing. And so setting up the world.
You got to give yourself the point that they did give you an entire paragraph. So literally the first page of script was all written.
No one's going to read that though.
Everyone reads that. It's Star Wars.
Now?
Yeah.
I don't think they did they'll, It scrolled, I guess, slow enough. Most people probably caught most of it, but I would imagine most of it glazed over it and missed the majority of it.
That's fair.
So,
it was...
First go around, I'm just talking about.
It wasn't like Dune, right? I remembered the first setup when I saw the Fincher's Dune, the first one, and the whispered dialogue of the entire things happening with these superimposed images. I got so lost so fast, and I was like, I'm 10. I don't know what you're saying. Just show me things. Boobs, hopefully.
Yeah.
And
that's an entire other genre we got to talk about.
Yeah, getting into that one. So I will absolutely give you that John Wick really does build worlds like A New Hope. But it's done in a really different setup.
Oh yeah.
Like A New Hope, when I went back to it, like I really did this is context. Like I get an entire script of context, and then I'm following these characters around as they introduce me to the characters and the world that you're in. And for the
John
most part,
Wick, you don't get any exposition. You're
get
just
none.
thrust right into the world.
Yeah.
And hope you catch up. And by God, there's enough material there that you do catch up, and it's easy. And they make it easy because the characters react so truthfully,
viscerally, yes,
that you get the gravity of the situation immediately.
But not everyone, right? And that's the best part. Like the characters that is going through the situation as the explanation's being given to them, we're following them. That not even the main character, but we're going on the discovery with them of how bad did you just fuck up.
And then later on, so watching the sequels and stuff, there's no, this is what blows me away, Jeremy. There is no world Bible for John Wick.
What?
There is not. They refuse to do it.
Even still? They don't have...
No. They don't do it because their writer's room, they have one tenet that they follow throughout all their ideas and what they write. It's one single question that they have to answer. Is it cool?
Wow.
That's their guiding principle.
Holy crap. I had no idea.
So
the entire world gets built script to script then?
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow.
I mean, obviously they have what they
they have the previous material to build off of at this point.
They have to be continuous now,
but they're not building a world Bible out of it. Is the thing? Maybe now fans or somebody else is going to do it, but the creators, they're starting fresh every time.
Wow, that's incredible.
That is a talented team, is what that is. That's a group of people who mesh well together and get what they're doing.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I'm still really kind of blown away by that because of the amount of secret societies and behind the scenes fantasy world inside the real world level to not have that pre-planned, pre-written, pre-set up. Like the historical context of the Continental alone.
Yeah.
Where they came from and how that started with the head table. Like the idea that they're just making that up as they go, essentially, is phenomenal.
I was talking to one person who is as big of a fan as John Wick as you and I are. And like early on, after the first movie, we're like, I would watch an entire TV series or entire set of movies just about the Continental.
Oh, yeah.
Leave John Wick out of it. I would just watch that. Lo and behold, that's in the works.
That's right. John Favreau is making that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's deep enough, right? You have a level for introducing characters and its own history and where it comes from.
Yeah.
The crazy new floors that we saw that showed them in Continuum, like suddenly there's entire glass floors.
Right.
Like where'd that come from?
Yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, so that was a bit of a roller coaster of different ideas and different movie types and genres.
All right, so let me bring it all the way back around, back to where we started. So we were talking about apocalyptic films, right? And big desert apocalyptic films. And we went into a crazy list of kind of the things that we love the most. So what apocalyptic film do you love the most? What's the one that you go to, like, I could rewatch that. Watch that world end again.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasure and all. I'll take anything.
Yeah. I'm kind of coming up a blank because it's kind of getting lost in the sea of everything that's out there. So why don't you go first? Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, damn it. I was just thinking about the answer when I was asking the question. And I go two ways with it. One, I can't think of like a favorite. I can't think of like, that's my favorite post-apocalyptic film. I'm not typically a fan. I did love Book of Eli. I thought that was a great one, has a really good level of interest and twist and story, and it really follows characters, which I found out for myself is really important to me. If you have a really good character, I'm pretty much on board. Wanted is a great example of that. I freaking love James McAvoy in Wanted. And Angelina Jolie is hot as hell, and the other characters are great. But the characters of who they are, acting so huge, they're basically cartoons of themselves, was phenomenal. And like, I will get into the gun shooting and the curving bullets and all that. Like, I'll eat it up. Like, that's a great one. Yeah. Not apocalyptic film though. So I'm going to say the apocalyptic film, whether I'd like to admit it or not, that I've probably seen the most times is Waterworld.
Wow.
And this is not a point of pride for me at the moment. I'm just pointing this out. But I will tell you that my favorite memory of the stupid movie Waterworld was the damn stunt show at Universal Studios. I've had a season pass to that when I lived in LA. And I probably went and saw that show a dozen times, 15 times. Never good. But the stunts were always super fun. So when I go into the movie, I reminding myself of the stunts that I saw and how they flipped and fell and dropped off of huge heights as they plunged into water. Jet skis going underwater and up. Like, they did the whole thing. They even had a plane fly in. That was always fun, always a good time. So I think I've seen that one the most. When it first came out, I actually really loved, what was it, 2012? Is that what it was 2012?
Oh
Where
yeah,
the
yeah,
Earth
yeah.
like
Is that
tore
John
itself
Cusack?
apart. It was John Cusack. Yeah. John
Yeah.
Cusack. And I remember Tibet. Like I remember there's like the Tibet, all of Tibet and the monks in the mountains just completely decimated by a tsunami.
Yeah.
And it was like a like it was the weirdest thing. And they kept doing that. They just kept like taking the Earth and completely turning it around.
Right.
And they did such a good job with the graphics of it that like I had to see it in the theaters and I was like blown away by the visuals of it.
Yeah.
Not the acting so much. But I remember really, really enjoying that one a lot.
Okay, so I think I've come up with a couple of thoughts, but they're not like natural disaster films because that's kind of like one direction you can go.
Sure, that's a direction.
Yeah. Super volcano. No, I'm just kidding. So a few come to mind. I think if I had to pick one, it would have to be T2. Terminator
damn.
2 Judgment Day.
I feel like I got to take my answer back now. That's a great call.
Cause yeah, that is such a, that formed so much of my like growing up and teenage years, and that was a cultural thing, I feel like.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But another one that I freaking love is both of them, but particularly Escape from New York. John Carpenter's.
John Carpenter's Escape from New York.
And I love Escape from LA
fantastic.
too. But oh yeah. Big fans of those, you know, and I don't know, there's a few smattering obviously that are fantastic. But
You spun my mind around. I guess I was definitely thinking natural disasters for the most part, because now that I'm thinking of like post-civilization, like apocalypse, A Quiet Place shows up in my mind, and holy shit.
Yeah.
Like that was an amazing film.
It was.
But I see that as a monster movie, right? I don't think apocalypse film. I think that was
right. Well, I mean, like I say, essentially that's kind of what most of the, you know, a lot of the zombie films are, is you know, all of the Resident Evil films.
right.
You know, Snowpiercer was pretty cool.
That was the Chris Evans on the train one, right?
On the train, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a cool idea that, you know, the world had kind of ended and the only survivors were on this train. And the train was split up by, you know, social and economic classes. And yeah, it was a really cool idea. I hear the book is pretty great. And then of course they did the TV series, but I haven't looked at that.
Cool.
And then you could get into, you know, alien invasion movies. And...
Oh yeah, absolutely. Right. Like does that end the world, or did we resist and fight back? Right. But like, I think alien films or alien invasion films, again, that's its own category classification.
Okay. One I know that you and I both love is Turbo Kid.
Oh man. Thank you for bringing that one up. Great reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely, and for the exact same reasons. Like, I love Turbo Kid because the characters are so good. Mm-hmm. They don't have to be fully in depth, but they're just rich enough that you absolutely get who they are. Yeah. You get why they're there, you get what they're doing, and you get what their purpose is. Good guy to bad guy to sidekick. All of it in there. You know exactly what their purpose is and what to look for.
Similarly, Six String Samurai. For me.
Six String Samurai. I don't know that one.
Yeah, look that up. It's where the Red Devils has kind of got big, you know, they did the soundtrack to that film, and so
okay,
and it's a big part. They're they're like the character. They're kind of like the Greek chorus in that film.
1998. Whoa.
Yeah, it's one of those that it's like a Slam Dance winner, and you know, I don't know. It's definitely a cult classic that there's some great stuff.
I'm seeing a really cool visual of him holding like a tattered Mad Max style umbrella, walking into what looks like just the Sahara with the guitar over his back, and it looks like a sword sheath right behind where the guitar is, also over his back. That's a cool look.
Yeah. And
in a suit, by the way, I didn't point that out. He's in a 2-piece suit with a tie.
Yep.
Amazing.
So, I don't know if Buckaroo Banzai counts as that genre, but that's another film that I love a lot.
Buckaroo Banzai is one of those that I feel like I had a fever dream about after I saw it. Like, I saw it probably a little too young, and I there's so many weird visuals that I didn't get that they just freaked me out. So for the longest time, I couldn't like get into enjoying it because I was just too weirded out by it too much. And I judged myself for it. I was very much like, oh, all my friends like this movie. I should not be this way about it. Therefore, I must be weird or outsider or whatnot. But like, I still have like these weird freak out like memories of like being super hot and like seeing those weird little spider things stuck to people's heads, and I was like, I couldn't get past it.
Yeah.
I did rewatch it probably 2 years ago, and very much like, okay, I have context now. I know who Doc Brown was this time, because that's all he was to me. He was only Doc Brown. That's all I knew him as. Good old Christopher Lloyd. And like, I kind of understood where everyone was coming from, and I figured out that I was very clear on getting lost in the science of how he could move through matter.
Yeah.
That was like,
well, and there's John Lithgow too, right?
Right, and John Lithgow
Big
being
booty.
super weird. Super weird. The one that I was able to get around, and I was like, I will clang onto this one better because I got it better, was oh god damn it. Help me out. It's the wrestler, the glasses that make you see everything that says obey.
Oh, They Live.
Thank you. Good God, They Live.
It's interesting because I have another movie of Rowdy Roddy Piper's that I wanted to bring up. But go ahead. I think They Live is one of the most incredible, awesome films, and I don't think you'd possibly do it again.
I 100% agree. I think that you were talking about satire earlier, right? And having a really good satirical message. This one absolutely culminates that for me. Like, They Live is still relevant.
Oh, yeah.
As absolutely crazy 80s as it was. It is still a poignant, relevant film that anyone can relate to, and they still have references all over the place. Like, it is constantly referenced, even though people don't know they're doing it now. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's as absolutely bizarre as it should be, and really it should fall into cult classics. It's a relevant film, and it holds up.
It is. Another one that did satire so well, and Ben would be really upset, Ben Dobbins would be upset if I didn't talk about this, is Starship Troopers.
Oh, yeah.
That is a film that was ahead of its time, and you want to talk about satire. Like, and the source material, they nail it. Yeah. They nail it. They did not need as many sequels as they got, but but that one did well. I was going to bring up Hell Comes to Frogtown. And you're
why?
Like, wait, that is a film?
That's exactly what my face is. I've never even.
It's Rowdy Roddy Piper. Look it up. Hell Comes to Frogtown, and it is frog people and kind of a westerny feel to it. And come on, you got to roll with it. It's so cool.
I did not see that in the list of
it's not a Charlie Band.
Of Charlie Band.
No. But it's a Rowdy Roddy Piper film. He did a lot of those kind of schlocky ones, but that one was one I love.
God, one of these times we should have to talk about the super acting chops of WWE wrestlers, because that is a conversation worth having. Those dudes are so good at what they do. And they consistently blow people away with their skill when they really shouldn't. Yeah. Because the amount of times that they do performances and are on point live so consistently, This Hell Comes to Frogtown looks like this is a movie night for you and me.
Sweet.
I'm seeing some screenshots that looks like sword and sorcery style lighting with the outfits and full on Mad Max level costumes. Yeah. I've never ever heard of this film, and I'm really excited you just told me about this. I think we should watch this one.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Totally want to. I want to talk about two other films.
All right.
Because it's two films that Ben Dobbins and I don't agree on a lot of films. But where we do, we are both enthusiastically on board with it. And one of the first ones that comes to mind is Hansel and Gretel.
Okay.
With Jeremy Renner.
Yeah. So that's the one from a decade ago?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of an Army of Darkness style, like Sam Raimi style film. And it's one that knows what it's doing and they have fun with it. And we've been pining for a sequel because it's awesome. It's another one of those things that it's like just a kind of a sleeper hit kind of thing.
I remember I really wanted to see this one because these are the witch hunters, right? This is the Hansel and Gretel witch hunters film.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to be very clear that we're not talking about Gretel and Hansel,
no.
which is the horror film that didn't come out last year, right? And I think it was supposed to be released in 2020.
Yeah, but there's also the Asylum level film that is like the same title.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. But there's one. They did. I don't know if it was them,
Hansel
but there is a
v. Gretel.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crap. So, so there's that one, and then the other one, which no one's gonna guess. It stars Sylvester Stallone.
Demolition Man.
Nope.
Okay. Daylight.
Uh-uh.
Okay, hang on. Give me a second. I'm not even going to touch the Rockies or Rambos. We already know those. You're not going to talk about Copland. We're not talking dramas tonight. Let me see. What else?
This one is kind of a drama, but it's also an action.
Okay. So we said action, so it's not Oscar, which is an amazing farce. Really, really, really good farce. Let me think. Hang on.
It's a remake of another film.
It's a remake. That doesn't help. I was not... Okay, I'm lost. I can't picture what you're talking about. What is it?
The original film starred Michael Caine. Michael Caine makes appearance in this film. Michael Caine used to be the action star of the 70s, if you can believe that.
Different kinds of action stars at that point.
In England, in British film, he was the badass of the time. He was like the Charles Bronson, the Chuck Norris. It's hard to picture that. But
that is hard to picture. That's weird.
But I'm talking about Get Carter.
Get Carter. Oh, yeah.
Mickey Rourke. It is one of the best directed films I've ever seen. If you wanted to talk about direction, that is a film that both Ben and I are just stunned by how much we love that one.
Oh my God. I just looked up Get Carter real fast and I'm seeing mostly Michael Caine with a shotgun pointed at the camera. Like, dude looks badass. Like straight up, like
the original one.
Yeah, like Guy Ritchie level of camera work here. Like that's fantastic.
Yeah,
and just a couple of shots of the poster cover of Stallone's Get Carter. That's funny.
Yeah. It did not get a lot of press and it didn't do well, but it's unfortunate. It's one of those that's very underrated, I think. But I enjoy it every time I watch it. And did you ever see Dark City?
Oh man, yes.
And do you love Dark City as much as I do?
Huge fan of Dark City.
Why is that film so good?
Yeah, there's a couple of different things I like about that. You go back to that world building conversation that we had about John Wick. That's a piece of it, right? It is a you are on a discovery with this person who knows that things are wrong and can't prove it.
Yeah.
And so you keep going with them to find out what's going wrong. And then you find out it's so wrong that it almost breaks you. You just want to go back to where you were because it's so completely off.
Yeah.
And then you have that supernatural element of why are we following this guy?
Yeah.
And there's so much of it, of the undiscovered hero who finds himself in the end to get to where he's going with it. I love Dark City. For a long time, Fifth Element was top of my list for best films.
Oh, yeah.
I would go to Fifth Element all the time. I have still seen it probably 50 times. But Dark City was right at the top of that list. Anyone who would dare talk about it or go into it with me, I will wax poetic about Dark City and how crazy good it was, and also how I could not get over how attracted I am to Jennifer Connelly.
Right.
Like my first notice of her was in Rocketeer, and I was like, she's incredible. I did not see Labyrinth until later. I didn't see it as a kid, so Rocketeer was my introduction.
Creepy
to
if
her.
you think she's attractive now in that one.
I can't get behind that.
Yeah.
Rocketeer Jennifer Connelly and Dark
Sure.
City Jennifer Connelly all day long.
Yeah.
Like just
So
like, she just kept me going with it.
That's the film that introduced me to the song "Sway."
Oh wow!
And her cover, and I don't know if she actually sang that song or if she was just lip syncing. I don't remember. But that version of "Sway" is probably, it's so haunting and so.
Yeah. Use those minors.
Yeah, I love it. I love that song, but and I love so many different versions of that song, but that one always sticks with me as a highlight of that film.
Great movie. Great call. Yeah, I want to go watch that right now, actually. I'm super excited about that. It's
Right.
such a good movie. Well, dude, so our homework is you need to see Book of Eli. We both need to see, what is
Hell
the
Comes to
Frogman?
Frogtown.
Hell Comes to Frogtown. And I'm going to go watch Dark City. That's what I'm going to do.
I think I'm on board with that. All right. Well, we'll catch you next time. We might still just be talking about movies. I don't know, because obviously we could talk about this a lot.
Well, hey,
there's a lot of things we have not touched on. For instance, the horror film and all its genres and what I look for in a horror film. Like true horror, not just schlocky, campy stuff.
Right.
And what I'm interested in that. Like, why is Exorcist so important? And why did that change things? You know, monster films with like Freddy and Jason, that was an age, a golden age of slasher films. But then you go into other directions. The Conjuring is an incredible piece of horror. You mentioned earlier paranormal
activity, right?
Activity.
How the first one really did it outdid Blair Witch, and Blair Witch set an entire new genre of handheld film, right? Yeah. So
we could go into that for a long time. We've got Sword and Sorcery.
Right, I was even thinking about that. We didn't even get into sword and sorcery by any means, or the legitimate world of fantasy and what the different fantasies are. Even though we just touched on those, so yeah, I could keep going. And I didn't even get a chance to talk about what I see in films from the filmmaking perspective, like what films draw me in just from the perspective of an actor. Like I remembered I was such a huge fan of Closer. Like I loved it so much, and I even bought it, and I never opened it again. Like I never opened it once. I saw it in the theaters, like that was so good. That was like a film of scene studies together, and it was so well done and so well acted. Like I never rewatched it ever, because it was just so intense, and there's so many solid emotions in there.
What other, give me a couple of examples. I mean, I've got a couple of minutes left that we can do that. I think this is a good way to end on it. Tell me about what films really like jump out at you from like a filmmaking standpoint.
Yeah. So there's a couple that like you think back to the media starts of like the way they shot Titanic and how that was put together, how they so meticulously recreated the sets and then built a freaking tank to put like a huge, like 3-story tank to put a shipment onto just to get their water scenes right. Like that's crazy amounts of money, right? That you can just do these incredible things that Cameron was known for, like recreating things. I would give credit to George Lucas for not a lot of things, but one I will is the fact that he followed in Alfred Hitchcock's footsteps and said, this film is supposed to look a certain way and we don't have the equipment to make it do that. So let's make the equipment and like literally created lenses and created the way sound is supposed to be made and film is supposed to be done in order to get his shots. For those very things alone, I'm aware of the fact like you changed the industry, like you did some things, but the ones that jump out to me the most, the ones that I was like proud to be a filmmaker for and always like wanted to go back and point to and go, this is why I do these things, is a film like The Matrix.
Yeah. The
Matrix changed the entire genre of film in the same way that Die Hard changed the way action movies were done. Sure. Like the way that it was shot, the way that it was lit, and the way that the story was told, there were already some great stories happening. Like there were some great stories in the late 90s, 98, 99. We just referenced like half a dozen of those films. But The Matrix sold itself in such a way that they were able to get you to buy in before you were even understanding or interested in what the movie was.
That's right. I remember being really excited to see this movie I knew nothing about.
You couldn't describe it to anybody.
I was like, well, that scene looks cool.
Right.
I want to see what that means.
I want to understand why they did that with that and how they got that look. And then, and they put it in almost every single trailer. You saw the bullet cam where they spun the image around Trinity, who's frozen in the air. And you can see every single angle from the entire room, and then everyone's bending backwards while bullets are flying over them. You're like, how the hell? Yeah. And and like from that point on, they used it and they kept going with it. It was not a one-shot wonder. It really changed the way film was made and the way stories could be shot. And so those are absolutely the ones I go to. I am no longer have Matrix as my favorite film of all time. I'm still guilty pleasures and all. I'm still putting that at Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Can't fault you for that because it's a freaking great film.
So good. I hate the main character so much. He's such a dick, but he's so good at being the dick. It's so well put together, and the comedy is genius. Just the sound work alone.
The sound work, the graphics, the cartoonishness. The stars, like the
stars
names in this film is just so fun.
Yeah.
Particularly like seeing how big they got later and then going back to that film and going, whoa, that's cool. I can't believe you got that.
You got it. It's a lot of big names there. Yeah, it's really fun. But I would say The Matrix is definitely the one that I'd point to the most and go, that was not only an amazing, really fun popcorn action film, it was a filmmaker's action film. And really, the Wanted, that I referenced earlier, I really loved. Wanted happened because of The Matrix. John Wick happened because of The Matrix.
Absolutely.
And so much of this different style started there. And I would argue that The Matrix happened because of Star Wars. Sure. In the same way that there was that build off of each other, but all of these really great films that I love so much, and Keanu Reeves is my idol. Like that guy can't do anything wrong.
Talk about a guy who like back in the 80s and 90s, we weren't gonna. He's not
gonna see him again.
He's not an actor that's gonna be like real up there on the quality charts, but
no,
wow. He is one of the most amazing human beings on the planet, in addition to being just a phenomenal actor and dedicated to his craft. But yeah, incredible stuff. I think for me, just as far as influences and like kind of get me thinking like, yeah, I could do that. and that is so fun that you could do it that way, would be The Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Raimi. I think in the early days of Dead Gentlemen, like, we deconstructed the hell out of that film, as well as Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2, you know, obviously. But
sure.
But, I mean, just the way they had fun, the way they tortured Bruce Campbell, the way they had to, like, just jury-rig shit to get the shot that they wanted, you know. It was just kind of an interesting way to do an indie film, in a way that also, like, got people.
Yeah.
You know, for the longest time, it held the bloodiest film ever shot, and then Dead Alive came along, which was called something else in New Zealand, Brain Dead, I think. But that's a New Zealand film from Peter Jackson that is bananas, and was one of the bloodiest films ever shot. Just that end lawnmower scene, and that's all I need to say. So much blood, so much gore, really fun. Also a really fun takeaway line in that movie too. But I think, what was it? I think they said the second the second It, the chapter 2, the new one.
Oh, yeah.
I think they said that was the most blood shot on film.
Oh, wow. Scene. I haven't seen the second one yet. I love the first one.
It's good. It doesn't come off to me that way, but I can see why they would say that, because, like, there's a whole, like, I don't know, hallway or whatever that's just flooded with blood. But
the way they did in freaking, oh my God, help me out, Jack Nicholson,
The Shining.
Shining, thank you, good God.
Yeah,
it's obviously late.
So, yeah, again, we could go down that road as well, but I think this is a good place to stop. It's fun. This was a good topic.
Yeah, man, I agree. I enjoyed this entire conversation. I wasn't even watching the time on that one.
I know. Now we got to figure out what we're going to talk about next, and I don't think it's going to be hard.
We got some material.
Yeah. All right, man.
I do want to get into the idea of your study of the devil as well.
Oh, yeah.
I just love to start, like, maybe we can, like, transition into that next week, because I'd love to talk about the devil in film, because there's some really good ones and there's a lot of really bad ones, but, like, they all still speak to the mythos and this very iconic person.
I mean, just a teaser. I mean, this is the reason why I'm interested in the devil, is that, I mean, just talking about it, everyone has an opinion about it.
Yeah.
There's not a person on the planet that doesn't have something to say or something they believe about it. It's as prolific as God. And whatever your opinion on that might be, it's just a fascinating character. Now, you know, I think in me talking about it, I feel like there's been a little bit of misunderstanding as far as what I'm exploring. You know, I'm throwing stuff out on Facebook, and it's
how perfectly the devil. That's exactly. I'm like, that's right on point.
Yeah.
There's always a misunderstanding about what you're looking for, because, like you said, there's so many opinions about it. There's so many points of view.
So I do plan on. So I'm obviously going to go into the origin of the devil and how we've gotten these ideas and how those were shaped from ancient times through, you know, all that, but not just Western Judeo-Christian devil either. I definitely want to dive into Japan and India and you know, like indigenous.
I would say Aztec and Incan, like everyone's got one.
So I'm really interested to find it. Just, you know, every culture has what is called a principle or a key figure that is the personification of evil. But then again, some cultures just twinned them, so
Yeah.
not every single god or whatnot had a good side and a bad side. Greeks were famous for that. But anyway, I'll get into that later. But and then I want to get into I want to investigate and talk with real Satanists.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to go into the Satanic Panic and D&D and what happened with all that shit and the really freaking weird, scary things in the culture that came out of the 70s that brought us like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and some weird satanic, why everybody was Satanic Panic or whatnot.
Right, yeah.
And then exorcisms and why that's still a thing. And I don't know. The devil in music.
Oh, yes. That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a whole podcast right there. That's a full on topic.
The devil in music, obviously the devil in film and in I'm going to do one in art, and I'm thinking I'm going to explore not just the visual depictions like in paintings and whatnot,
Sure.
but I think we're going to include comic books into that one.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
It's a visual media.
Yeah.
On the page. But it just covers so much. And so it just, as I got to thinking about it, I'm like, wow, there is a full season or more of material here that we can go into. So I'm excited.
Cool, man. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, we'll do it again.
We'll do it again. Thanks,
This has
man.
been The Early Effect.